What if I told you that Ferrari doesn't need a miraculous upgrade in Japan, because it already has something much more dangerous prepared? What if everything we've seen so far of the SF26 isn't its true level, but just an incomplete version designed to hide its real potential? Lewis Hamilton has sent a message that has gone unnoticed by many, but that within the paddock is already generating concern, because it does not speak of a specific improvement, it speaks of a complete system that can change the balance of forces in the next races. And the most disturbing thing of all is that Japan could be the first circuit where we begin to see that jump about which no one has real data. The first thing to understand is that Ferrari is not playing the same game as the rest of the teams, and that is exactly what Lewis Hamilton has hinted at, although without saying it directly. Because while many expected an immediate reaction after the first races, what is really happening within the team is something much more complex and, above all, much more calculated. Ferrari has made a very risky decision since the beginning of the SF26 project, not showing its true potential in the first rounds of the calendar. Instead of arriving with a car completely optimized from the first Grand Prix, they have opted for a more contained initial base, designed specifically to learn, collect data and understand the real behavior of the car in racing conditions. And this completely changes the reading of your performance. Because when you see Ferrari in the first few races, you may think that they are simply one step behind, but what Hamilton is implying is that that performance is not representative. The car is not finished. Not in the traditional sense, but in the strategic sense. They have not yet deployed all the tools they have prepared. This is where one of the most important points that explains this entire approach comes in, the concept of the SF26 itself. Ferrari has abandoned the classic idea of building a car based on extreme downforce as we saw in previous years, to focus on something much more sophisticated, the total efficiency of the car. This means that every element of the car is designed to maximize energy use, optimize drag and maintain a very precise balance between top speed and cornering behavior. And this type of concept cannot be perfected in a pre-season test. It requires real data, it requires variable conditions, it requires errors, and above all it requires time on the track. That is why Ferrari has divided its development into very clear phases. A first version of the car to understand its limits and a progressive evolution that will unlock its true performance race after race. This is where Hamilton's words make sense. Because when he speaks cautiously, when he avoids promising immediate results, he is actually reflecting this internal focus of the team. They're not looking for a coup, they're building something that, if it works, can be much harder for their rivals to counter. And there is another key detail that is not being discussed enough. Ferrari is not only evolving the car, it is validating each step before introducing it. Elements such as the floor, the diffuser, the rear suspension, and even possible adjustments to the active aerodynamics are not being implemented all at once, but in a phased manner, ensuring that the correlation between the wind tunnel and the track is completely reliable. This reduces the risk, but also delays the impact. And this is where the real concern begins to arise in the paddock. Because if Ferrari gets that correlation right, if all those pieces start to fit together at the right time, we wouldn't be talking about a one-time improvement. We would be talking about progressive growth that can change the competitive order without prior notice. And this is where everything starts to take on a much more serious dimension. Because Japan is not just another race on the calendar, it is the perfect setting to expose if Ferrari has been hiding something big, or if this whole approach can backfire. Suzuka is one of the most demanding circuits in all of Formula One. It does not forgive weaknesses. It does not allow you to hide shortcomings. It is a route that combines fast linked curves, constant changes of direction, and areas where aerodynamic efficiency is not an advantage. It is an obligation. And that is precisely where the SF26 concept can begin to make real differences. Because if Ferrari has made one thing clear so far, it is that its car does not seek to dominate in just one aspect. It seeks to be efficient in all of them. The problem is that up to this point in the season, that balance hasn't been fully optimized. We have seen a car that is competitive in traction and corner exit, with interesting energy management and a top speed that is beginning to attract attention, but also with clear weaknesses in fast corners and stability under braking. And Suzuka goes straight to that weak point. That's why Japan is not just an opportunity, it's a trial by fire. This is where the improvements that Ferrari is introducing, especially in areas such as the floor, diffuser, and rear suspension, start to play a key role. Not because they transform the car from one day to the next, but because they can correct exactly those areas where the SF26 was losing performance. And this is what has really generated concern in the other teams, because they don't know how much margin Ferrari still has. While teams like McLaren, Red Bull, or Mercedes have already shown much of their real performance from the beginning, Ferrari remains a mystery. There is no clear reference. There is no definitive version of the car on the track. Everything we have seen could just be an intermediate phase. And that in Formula One is very dangerous, because it means you can't react in time. If Ferrari introduces small but perfectly correlated improvements, race after race, the impact will not be immediate, but it will be cumulative. And when that performance begins to solidify, it may be too late for others to neutralize it without completely changing their own concept. This is where Hamilton's reading gains even more weight. He doesn't talk about dominating Japan. He doesn't talk about winning immediately, but he doesn't rule it out either. And that nuance is key, because it reflects that within the team they know that they are in a construction phase, but also that the potential is there. And now the great unknown is inevitable. What if in Japan we see the first real sign of that leap? Because if Ferrari manages to stabilize the car in fast corners, maintain its efficiency on the straight, and begin to close its weaknesses, then it would stop being an evolving project and become a direct threat. And now is where everything falls into place, and where the situation can completely change in a matter of a single race. Because if there is something that everything that Hamilton has revealed makes clear, it is that Ferrari is not looking for a one-time improvement. It is building an advantage that can grow over time. And that's exactly what makes Japan so dangerous for everyone else. Not for what Ferrari is today, but for what it can begin to be. If in Suzuka we see a more stable SF26 in fast corners, if these improvements in the floor, the diffuser, and the rear suspension begin to correct their weaknesses, and if they also maintain that energy efficiency that they are already showing, then the scenario changes completely. Because at that moment, Ferrari would stop being a team in development and become a real contender. And here comes the most critical point of all. The rest of the teams would not have an immediate response. Because it is not about copying a part, it is not about introducing a similar upgrade, it is about understanding a complete concept that Ferrari has been developing in silence for months. An approach based on efficiency, energy management, aerodynamic balance, that is not replicated from one week to the next, and that leaves everyone in a very uncomfortable position. Because if Ferrari gets it right, it will not only have found performance, it will have found a superior development direction. And that's where Hamilton's words take on a completely different meaning. They no longer sound like caution, they sound like a warning. Because while he publicly lowers expectations, internally he makes it clear that the car has room, that the project is aggressive, and that we have not yet seen its true face. And that's what really impacts the paddock. It's not a specific upgrade, it's the feeling that Ferrari could be one step ahead without having shown it yet. So the big question is no longer whether Ferrari will improve in Japan. The real question is, are we about to see the start of a power shift in Formula One? Because if that jump starts here, it may be too late by the time the rest react. And in the end, it all comes down to a single idea that changes absolutely everything. Ferrari doesn't need to surprise with an immediate hit. It needs to hit the right moment. Because while many are looking for that miraculous upgrade that changes the order in a single race, what Hamilton has hinted at is something much more dangerous. A project that grows, that evolves, and that can reach its peak when others no longer have room to react. Japan is not the end of the road, it is just the first sign. The first place we might begin to understand if Ferrari has been playing a different game all along, if they have truly sacrificed early performance to build something bigger, something stronger, something harder to stop. And if that is confirmed, then we will not be talking about a simple improvement. We will be talking about the beginning of a trend, of a progressive change in the balance of the grille. From a Ferrari that not only competes, but better understands the new path of Formula One. And that's where everything becomes uncomfortable for the rest. Because by the time you realize that someone has taken the right direction, it's usually too late to catch up. So now, the eyes are on Japan. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.